Let's be honest, we don't know anything about our elected officials. They're hidden behind curated social media profiles and press releases to the point that they often seem barely human. We're here to break down those barriers and get under the hood of their real character. Our guest today is Mayor James Kern of Pohatcong, New Jersey. My name is Scott Salmon, and this is Politically Driven. So, I want to start you off with a very difficult question. What's the last television show that you watched?
Last television show, Arrested Development.
When did you watch it?
Last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which season?
I am rewatching season 3.
Okay.
So it's pretty the redo, as they're calling it, and it makes a lot more sense for what it's worth.
Okay.
I can actually follow it.
Really?
So that's my
awesome.
go-to right now. My binge show, right?
Your binge show, yeah. Everyone, you're not a millennial unless you have a binge show. At
Exactly.
least. See, now you were 21, I believe, when you first won your first race for town council. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
You were a senior in college?
Yeah, a senior at Rutgers University.
Okay.
And I ran we used to have the May Municipal because we're nonpartisan, local. And so I ran like 2 weeks before I graduated was the election.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was pretty.
So wait, does that mean you have finals at the same time as?
So, true story, my professor, I had an exam the night of the election, and I went up to him like, listen, can I take this exam early? And he's like, no one wants that. They want a later exam. I'm like, well, I'm actually running for my local town council, and I need an excuse, or I need to get out of it so I can be back in the township. And he's like, sure. He's like, that is literally the best excuse I've ever gotten.
Please tell me that this was like a class on like poli-sci or something.
Yeah, it was like American political thought, I think.
Oh, come on, then he should have just given you an A just.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like, yeah, I feel like the election was your final exam.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have been at least.
So much different from the textboops, right?
This isn't what happened. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
It's always a big decision for anybody to run for office, but especially when you're doing something like going to school.
Yeah, right.
Even if it's something like a local race, it's obviously not running for president, but it's still a big commitment, and you're asking a lot of people that you want to vote for you. Tell me about the thought process. I guess that first when just you thinking about I think this is something I want to do.
Yeah, so as someone I was a political science major, so it's always something I've had a passion for, so it's always something at some point in my life I'd want to consider. But really it was, you do the research, and you still see it today, the local races, people run uncontested. And I was like, this is something...
Is that what was happening?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, they were uncontested because it was the May election wedged between the school board and the primary, so total low voter turnout. And I was like, I'm at least going to make these guys work for it.
Right.
And, you end up getting out there and people are like, yeah, we really want change.
Did you actually think you were going to win when you started off?
Initially, I thought... I think I did. I was like, I'm going to get one of these seats because it was one for. There were 2 guys running, so I was like, I think I'm definitely going to get one.
Oh, so it was just okay.
Yeah, so I did a bullet vote type thing, and at that point I was like, the vote total. Like when I decided to run, I'm like, I can do this because the vote totals were so low.
Right.
I'm like, I know in town alone, this many people that I could get elected, and then it ended up being like an absolute groundswell of people getting interested, re-engaged in the township. So it was great.
You obviously were thinking about politics from a pretty young age then. Do you remember what your first political memory was? Of just something happening in politics.
It was probably my first political memory was being in 3rd grade and someone telling me that Bob Dole was going to get rid of Nickelodeon. Like that was my first. Like I remember someone saying that. Like it was when they used to have those magazines. I forget the name of them, but they were like, you got to tell your parents to vote for Bill Clinton. Other kids were saying it because Bob Dole's going to take away Nickelodeon. And
which, I mean, there are other reasons I probably wouldn't have voted for Bob Dole, but that would be on the top of them.
It's like, my God. I was like, funny. Mom, Dad. Is this true?
Do you remember what the reaction was?
They kind of just completely dismissed it. Go back to Nickelodeon.
I had a friend, there's signs for you right there.
Oh, there we go.
I like that. You know who lives there?
That's my sister. Actually.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's a funny coincidence. Yeah. This is going to sound like an odd question, but do you ever feel sort of lonely in what you're doing? I imagine you're at an age where, first of all, there are not a whole lot of 20-somethings that are in politics to begin with, much less the established mayor of a town, much less running for another higher office, at a time in, I think, most 20-somethings people's life, where you're expected to be social, and that means you have to be a little bit more careful on things like social media and just what you do in public. Does it ever feel like it's hard to find other people that can sort of relate to the situation that you're in?
Yeah, I mean, that really sums it up. Like, they're really when you're with the social media aspect, and to your point, being a younger person involved in politics, like, you're kind of watched, wherever you go. And there's a level of responsibility to it as well. But too, like, just at social events that you go to within any government affairs or even the Republican Party, like, I'm the youngest person there by like 40 years. So it's...
I've been to those meetings before, where you bring the age down by like 30, 40 years.
Exactly. You're like,
the average age,
it's hard to sometimes have those relatable instances.
What's something that you've learned in your time? So you've been the mayor of Pohatcong for now 7 years?
7 years.
7 years ago. What's something that you've learned about the town itself in those 7 years that you didn't know before? I imagine there are a lot of things, but...
Yeah, right.
I hope there are a lot of things.
Yeah, right, a lot, definitely. Really, to me, how big and like square mileage it is. Like, you don't realize how, because we're a rural community, but you don't realize how from a logistic perspective, like, how that impacts what your budgeting is, like, as far as police coverage, road budget, stuff like that. If
you have to mow the strip next to the road, and that road goes on for 30 miles, then
people always say, like, well, how many people live in the town? And that's a real, like, that's one factor you can look at something with. But when you have a lot of commercial rateables and just a lot of land, it's another avenue that you have to really kind of juggle.
Now, what's something you've learned about the county as a whole, Warren County as a whole, since you've started your campaign?
Well, I would say the size thing again, how big it is, right? But I think really how engaged people are in local politics. Like, in the age where the local papers are starting to kind of disappear, people are still really engaged and want to know what's going on in their community. Like, you'd think that everything going on in DC is sucking the life out of just anything, it's government, but people are really engaged in their local
I remember knocking on doors, and when I would just talk to them, when I would get my 30 seconds to talk to them, and I would ask them, well, what's on their mind, what issues are they concerned about. Nobody brought up Washington. Nobody brought up Trump. Nobody brought up any of that stuff. They only want to talk about those, like, local things that affect them every day. Really, the things that were better suited for someone that was running for town council or mayor or something like that. I mean, I could talk to them about their property tax, and there's some things that the federal government can do about that. Not a whole lot. There's some things, but a lot of those things are just things that are suited at that more local level. But that's what people are interested in.
Well, so our population in Warren County it's getting, I think with the rest of Northwest New Jersey and some of the shore communities too are getting older, because the millennials are going to Hoboken, Jersey City, Morristown, like that's where they're going. And so one of the things I want to do is make sure that the governing body of the county is more active, not only on social media, but just getting, the information out there for people. And there's a disconnect because not everyone is on those medias. Most people are, but not everybody. So there's that disconnect. But two, Warren County has a significant, technology infrastructure problem.
Yes.
The North Warren, doesn't have, internet.
I would say it's great. It's great to post something on Facebook, but if a quarter of the county, a third of the county doesn't have internet, then I would imagine, just from my own experience, I would imagine the lack of high-speed internet access. I would imagine really a direct train, a train into the city, down to New York City. We have the one train that goes to Dover. And is that the closest one?
We have Hackettstown.
Oh, right.
That's our closest one. Right. But it runs so infrequently. Right. And we have White House Station. That's the other, or High Bridge. Like,
but you have to go into a whole other county to...
Yeah, you have to hop on 78 and see traffic. So it's...
Okay. So, I would imagine those are two of the bigger infrastructure things.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. What is your favorite fact about Pohatcong?
My favorite fact about Pohatcong?
It's like a stat or just something about the place.
I like to say that one of the nicest things, we have two of the best vineyards in New Jersey. in
Really?
Pohatcong.
I didn't know that.
I like to brag about them a
I didn't
lot.
realize there were that many vineyards in New Jersey to begin with.
Yeah. So I like to plug them all the time any chance I get. We have two in the southern part of our township. We have a nice area called Finesville, and it's beautiful. It's like an 18th century kind of like hamlet, and we have two really nice vineyards.
Good use of hamlet, by the way.
Yeah, right. But it's really it's great. Like people go down there like on the weekend, and you know, I like to think of our area as wine country of New Jersey. There's some good Wall Street Journal articles about.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah.
The New Jersey Devils this year went 44-29. Did not make it out of the wild card in the playoffs. What do you see as them doing next year? I know you're a big Devils fan.
Huge Devils fan. I'm really excited about them. I was at the two playoff games, and that game 3 was one of the loudest times I've ever heard the Prudential Center.
Really?
It was rocking, and I'm pretty pumped. The past couple of years, I've not been happy, but I think there's going to be a nice couple playoff runs, and I'm going to say a cup in 5 years.
If you had to compare yourself politically to someone, I guess, famous or someone well known, just to get like a sort of like a sense of where you are on the spectrum, who would it be?
Well, if I could keep it kind of low, like I'm kind of lined up with Kim Guadagno on a lot of things.
That's interesting.
Like she's kind of like more socially moderate, and the fiscal concern. Like a lot of her stuff, I was agreeing with.
Right.
In any other year, she would have been a really strong candidate too. But
do you ever feel like because in New Jersey we haven't elected a Republican senator in whatever years, maybe Hugan wins this year. Do you ever feel like as a Republican, like there's a ceiling to what you can do in New Jersey?
I think because we've had so many governors, I think it shows that there is opportunity, and the nice thing too is like when a Republican governor gets in, he brings in an administration with him too, so you can be part of the policy discussion. So I guess there's from that perspective, but yeah, the Senate seats, it's always like I don't think.
Okay, my favorite question to ask: what's your spirit animal? Have you thought about this one?
No, well, like you want to say like bald eagle or something like really American, but spirit animal. Maybe.
I love this question because people don't usually think of themselves in this kind of way.
No, like you go through all the different type of animals, and you're like, well, I don't know if I'd be that one or if I'd be that one.
Right.
Maybe I'll say. Let's go with I'm gonna go with an owl.
An owl? What's that?
Let's go with an owl. Because I can't be as I can't be arrogant to say I'm a bald eagle, but maybe I'll be an owl. They're a wise animal, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
They actually, there's a bunch of them that live in our neighborhood. Like they're called a parliament. They work well together. I've seen them in action. So maybe that's
that is a very good political answer.
I'll be an owl.
I like it. I like it. You've shown you know about your community.
Yeah.
You know how to work together with others. That's a good answer.